Hello, one and all. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ, and thank you for joining me. This week we are talking about consequences, aftermath, lasting effects, all that good stuff there. And today is Third Pillar Thursday, and I often have to somewhat describe this because if you typed in Third Pillar, you might come up with some pseudo-psychological or maybe religious text or something like that. No, Third Pillar Thursday is my favorite because I am your self-appointed third pillarist of the RPG community. So for all you creatives um, community and kind folks out there, the third pillar of gaming deals with exploration. And the first pillar being combat, second one being social interaction, the third one being exploration is the pillar that I hold dear. I hold it to my heart. I absolutely love it, and I think it's a muscle that we have allowed to atrophy in the RPG community. And exploration is much more than walking around dank caves or abandoned castles or empty starships and habitats. It is about using the environment not just as a tool to discover information, but to actually use it in and around and simultaneously with our social and combat pillars combined. And so I am here to say that yes, we can do them. No, it's not as complicated as you think. Yes, it's a muscle that we've allowed to atrophy. And no, don't be scared. It's pretty cool. So what does that have to do with consequences? Well, let's let's be frank here. One of the main um, environmental effects that PCs will have are give them an ignition source and a flammable or uh, explosive material, and you will absolutely positively have yourself some consequences. Okay, so and I don't care what game it is, you're going to have at least one player that's going to set fire or explode something. Someone's going to create some kind of combustible element in your game. Okay, I don't care whether they're lighting a barrel of oil on fire or throwing a grenade or putting a rag inside of the gas tank of a car or finding some kind of a gunpowder, or it doesn't really matter. They're going to, if it's flammable in the least bit, they're going to light it on fire. They're going to have something explode. They're going to. If it's possible to get nuclear codes, I guarantee you a PC is going to launch one. It's just a given in the role playing arena. Most games allow players to have access to something that's able to cause fires. Um, your Burning Hand spell, your Fireball spell, your psionic, your psionic pyrokinetic abilities, your your flamethrowers, your laser rifles. Yeah, yeah. As Mrs. Spensar says, yeah, introduce the party to brown mold and watch them try and bottle it and weaponize it. TPK soon to follow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yes. Kill a creature and somebody in that group is like, can I put its glands, its blood, its internal workings inside of something so I can carry it around with me in my backpack? And you're just scratching your head like, yes, and then you start regretting it. The minute you say it, you're like, oh, why did I say that? Oh man. But now I'm being very silly here because of course they're going to do it, and of course that's kind of the fun of it, right? Like when 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 will that last bottle of beer on the wall fall off the shelf? You know what I mean? Who's going to break the game? Someone has to break something, throw a brick through a window, and it calls everything. Too late, Omen. The stream is done. sorry, dude. You're gonna have to come back tomorrow. So, no, no, no. But in all seriousness, the idea here is when the players do something, we often seem to forget about the aftermath of the very simple and very common player character capabilities in our role-playing games themselves, right? When players are like, take any modern day through sci-fi setting and have them fire just about any weapon, and you're going to have consequences way out the wazoo. Um, in it, as a matter of fact, in our own world, how many I couldn't tell you the statistics on this, but I know in my small little city of Columbus, Ohio, that lots of people get shot by stray bullets. Okay, having advanced weapon fights on starships and sealed habitats is not a good thing. Players firing fireballs, because every player, come on, listen, everybody wants to throw the fireball. They want to fire their arcane energies and such. And if those arcane energies, I don't care if they hit or miss, what happens to the rest of the world? Do they start a fire in the small town after the PC is like, oh, I get to use my fireball now? What happens when someone blasts someone with a bolt of lightning or frigid energy or something like that? Mr. Spencer says, I have an idea of a landscape that's been torn and decimated by an ages-old war. Nearly all of the scars have healed, but the skeletons of eons dead giants litter the continent. My players started to use Speak with Dead just to figure out what happened and who were the major players in the war. Um, I will say that much like Joseph Keenan, who is unable to participate in our live streams, but participates actively afterwards. Often, we talked about war, and he was talking about like World War One. You know, you have barbed wire, places known as no man's land. When the word no man's land came about because of World War One, and there were places that were so bombed out that you could not see the landscape anymore. And like you're talking about, Mr. Spenzar, with like a war and decimation and such. I mean, what a great, you could consider it a post-apocalypse of sorts, right? With hundreds, thousands, maybe tens of thousands or more of these little cavities in the ground from explosive events, or the footprints of giants that did battle as the gods threw lightning bolts and drew down the power of the sun into the land and such, and the overgrowth, the poison, the acid rains and things like that. You could absolutely put that in there, and lo and behold, maybe even the player characters themselves might be responsible for a lot of that. Scott Poe says, you know, to be fair, those taverns and general goods shops really need to be less flammable. There's always a PC lighting a tavern on fire, and like, yeah, here's my tip: use asbestos. Yeah, there's always a PC lighting something on fire and watching the world burn, you know. And yeah, it's like fire, right? It, but it's like, yeah, yeah. Mr. Spinzar is like, who sells oil by the barrelful without fire extinguishers? Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find the bucket brigade coming out when they're just like, it's PCs again. Just let it burn. Don't even, guys. But we need to put the fire out. Yeah, yeah. Their next short rest, they're just gonna burn the place down again. Just let it go. Yeah, let it go. Yeah. The roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Okay, that's enough. Um, yeah, yeah. Do the taverns in D&D even pass inspection by OSHA? I would think they're probably paid off. Look the other way. Yep. As the, yeah, it's player characters. Are those adventurers? No, they're called player characters. Yeah, just let it burn. Uh, Dead Man's like a Reddit poll. What happens when a brown mold is introduced to lava? You know what? It's any of those brown molds, gray, brown, gray, green, black, all the gelatins, jellies, puddings, molds. Um, what's the other? Yellow fungus, whatever all those things. Those are some pretty nasty. Like you can't hit it with a stick, but it gets everywhere kind of thing. And but my contention is that when that player, like I made this I've used this analogy quite a bit talking about the third pillar of exploration, and I was saying like sometimes players in a vacuum will say, well, my monk's not as good as that wizard because that wizard's got fireball and only my character can only punch and kick things. And my contention is sure, except on like a pirate ship, right? A sailing vessel, in which case the monk gets to kick ass and kick people overboard and shine. The wizard gets to use a fireball once before everybody dies, right? Including themselves. And it's like, depending on where and when you are at, what you're doing at the time has an extreme effect on the not just the narrative, but the ramifications of that. And a lot of games, because a lot of the consequences and aftermath, um, yep, exactly. Players, wizards are so good. Monk, I grapple the wizard. Rest in peace. But yeah, everybody gets to shine in their own way, and a lot of that, to me, to pass that spotlight around, it's not just about the adversaries or just throwing a random trap in there, but it's where they get to shine, and some of that has a lot to do with the capabilities of players in the aftermath thereof, right? When a player uses a burning hands in a dry brush field or a wooded region and sets the place on fire, much like it is today, an errant misplaced produce flame cantrip can ignite hundreds of thousands of acres of dry forest, thereby changing the literal landscape by causing fires and smokes that can wipe out whole regions, displace families, kill dozens, hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands, based on when and where these locations happen. And don't include locations like being underground, and the dwarves have found an aquifer filled with oil, or the the proverbial sailing vessel filled with some flammable or explosive powders and or liquids that are unloading on the docks or something, and a PC sets fire to it. We know in our own histories any number of cities have completely burned down and then been rebuilt all around the world simply because of a fire that got out of hand. And mind you, I'm just talking about fire. I'm not even talking, and a fire, of course, can be started by flames, electricity, simply knocking over a candle or a lantern, or a torch setting fire to a tapestry or something. But we're just talking fires. Player characters have capabilities that go well beyond. Uh, they have access to energies that are well beyond the pale, right? Radiation and psychic powers and shifting and changing of matter and energy in and of itself. I mean, just freezing something solid, or passing someone's physical body into stone, or shifting, changing shape and shifting your mass around and all these kind of things um, are extremely, they can have an extreme detrimental effect, right? And therefore, I believe that including that narrative and game effect in the game is very important, to, especially if you want to set some form of I don't want to say realism, of verisimilitude in your setting, right? The player that's able to grow 5 times their height standing on a sailing vessel might capsize that ship, or standing on that rope bridge might rip that rope bridge, or walking across that abandoned building and growing 85 feet tall might not be the best thing in the world as their feet go through the rooftop. Whereas in an open field, or in a mountain pass, maybe they dominate. So yeah. Now Scott Post says, so maybe that would happen, a tavern with a large budget, with a wish against magic or fire, or guarded by hidden water elementals, something to break up the building fires. Which, you know what? As silly as that sounds, why not? Um, what a perfect example to have your druidic enclave in the city and hanging around, and the PCs are like, why are all the druids dressed in these like these outfits or something with the king's emblem on their chest, wearing these dark green cloaks or something. And then the PCs go in the tavern, and there's a druid with their feet up sitting in the corner, and they're like, what's he doing here? I don't know. And why is she hanging out on the corner somewhere? I don't know. And then the PCs get in the fight, and they're just like, yep, player characters, here they go again, setting fire to things. And then they summon little storm clouds or like water elementals to wash things away. Wash the blood off the streets to have it happen again tomorrow. Yeah. Oma says, yeah, there was that London fire too, I think. Yeah. There have been a number of major cities, I mean, very major cities in history that have just burned to the ground, no matter what kind of fire brigadisms existed. Even in the past, in here in the formation of the United States, in New York City, uh, in the old days, the fire department used to wear helmets, and they had a little symbol on their helmet. And in order for the fire brigade to put out your house, you had to pay an insurance, and the front of your house had the same emblem on it. And if it had the same emblem, it meant your fire brigade insurance was paid, and they would put out the fire in your dwelling. If it didn't have it, they would just let it burn. And I don't know how accurate it was, but what was it? Gangs in New York, they had people breaking when a fire started, they would just break into random houses around the area and start stealing stuff out of it. Yeah. Oma's like, that's kind of mean. Kind of mean. Kinda? Oh man. But yeah. Very mean, right? But yeah, that, I mean, I think that's a thing, right? That could be a thing in the city. Like, oh, PC, there's a wizard firing off one of those lightning bolts again, and everyone's like, great, I get to steal somebody's stuff. Yeah. Scott Poe says, I definitely was not being silly on purpose. Shadowrun is just like that. Magic wards and guardians are common because of magical maniacs. I guarantee you that perfectly fits in a place like Eberron. And if you have a medieval setting with high magic, I'm sure most of the major cities and towns in a high magic setting would have some form of like early warning system or guardians. I mean, think about it like this: how much money would someone get paid to go to a wizard school to just be able to put out fires? I mean, that's a very dangerous thing to disrupt a major metropolis. And so the ability, like, what is it, the mending spell, and maybe some kind of, I don't know, like acid arrow that's been manipulated into like water arrow or something like that. Just be able to splash water in something by summoning it out of thin air. Or what's the other spell? Druidcraft is a cantrip. Now, and of course, tomorrow's Future Friday, so we're definitely going to talk all about this for Future Friday. I think from modern, and when I say modern, I'm talking like Renaissance, Victorian era, all the way into the far future. We 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 have a lot of those things: fire extinguishers, CO2 buildup, you know, those kind of things. We do have early warning systems, but in an arcane setting, I could see that. I think it makes a lot of sense, or at least even specific buildings or nobles or very rich merchants would have either watchers or things like that. And maybe in your world there are quite a few beasties and such. And you know what? Even just having a barrel of or buckets of water hanging around in the corners, just in case you need to spill it over to put a fire out, I think that would make a lot of sense. I know my grandfather did that a lot. He had um in each room of the house there was like there was a one of those big water jugs with the sealed top that you turn over. Anyway, yeah, it was to put out fires and stuff. Scott Poe. PCs, fireball. Specialist wizard, fire retardant ball. Yeah, I want to change my fireball to something else. Game Master's just like, oh, what do you want to have, like a necrotic ball or acidic ball? Like, no, I want to have a fire retardant ball that just like sprays out that foam and goop over everything, and it's like, what? Huh? Yeah. Yep. Cold magic in case of fire sounds helpful. I'm with you. Mr. Spinzar says, remember, ladies and gentlemen, the best of folk are waiting for a catastrophe so they can steal the neighbor's cattle. Mending, create water, protection from elements, fire. Yeah, and you could reskin the hell out of a lot of stuff to to enable someone to do things like that. So yeah, I would say that. Who's to say someone's magic missile spell isn't just blasts of water or something? It uses force, and you could just reskin it. Like my character is aquatic and stuff. But moving even beyond the fire part of it. Okay, and this is where I feel like the environment can be used and abused. Okay, with fire comes, of course, PCs love themselves some explosions. You got to get like the walking away from the explosion in the background to some really dramatic really dramatic music as something very very expensive, very important, or nearly indestructible just goes up in a big ball of fire and sprays debris everywhere. You got to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Safety wizards. Mr. Spenzar is like, safety wizards, an order of arcane students who saw the mayhem on the campus from the evocation students and thought, once they leave the academy, they'll only get worse. I can see them shaking their heads like, here they go again. Also known as the only wizards with consciences. Going around fixing stuff, yeah. Heck, they're the ones putting back all those chimeras and manticores and owlbears back to where they came from. Chasing down Pegasus is like, you guys shouldn't have wings. I know who created you guys. Messing things up around here. Trying to desentiate the oozes and fungi all around the world and stuff. Like, you're going back to just being a pool of acid, not something that walks around in caves. Now, there's also the idea of, and this is something that is, I have not seen. I had this little very tiny argument with Challenge to Dead Man, but about the idea of scavenging for like ingredients to make stuff. But I will say to you that not very many games have a sabotage element to it, and which is strange because you would think after 40, 45 years of role-playing games that we would be used to players sabotaging things, right? Meaning like, hey, I'm going to cause a landslide. I'm going to pull the plug on the dam and have something flood. I'm going to cause the giant monolithic tower to fall over. I'm going to have the dam release all of the water, or the wizard's alchemical copper, 10,000 gallon, units just burst open and spill into the laboratory, or cause a building to fall, release herds of horses out of their stables, like just something that just destroys everything. Now, I understand it's kind of a one-off, right? Every destructive force has creates its own problems thereof, but I will tell you that as a DM or GM, we should be prepared for that and have rules for that, which is why, as I start to point towards the logo here, little self-promotion there, but yeah, understanding that those things might happen and then allowing them to happen and embrace it. PCs absolutely positively will change the environment if they can get away with it, and I say let them get away with it, and then let them deal with the consequences thereof. Sinking a ship, causing a building on a cliff to fall over into the sea, causing a cave to collapse, or hell, disrupting one of those aquifers underground and having it flood, killing a monster. All those monsters that PCs like to kill leave their own aftermath and their own consequences as well. I mean, it's a thing. Deadman says Guy Fieri has a story about learning to cook tableside in a restaurant and having a basin of flour on the cart specifically for putting out fires. As a matter of fact, that is a thing though, that fires, not every fire is put out in the same way. Grease fires are often put out by powders, as opposed to water is less, if not nearly ineffective in putting out grease fires, because the grease and oil just sits on top of the water. So yeah, yeah, flour can put out fire. You smother it. What is it? Ignition source, flammable material, and oxygen. And if you disrupt one or more of those, the fire goes out. Scott says, I love making PCs scavenge. Give them some herbs, let them discover some signs of local predators, maybe locate ruins. Yeah, hashtag good consequences. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Deadman's like, water makes grease fires go boom. Let's see, deep fried turkey, anyone during Thanksgiving? It's coming up. We're going to see a bunch of people burn their houses down by taking a frozen turkey, putting it into 50 gallons of hot grease, and watching it just explode out of the top of it. Yeah, that's a real thing, guys. Every single year here in the States. But it happens. Now, if we go a little more, we turn the volume up on that, we go a little more arcane, you could even go so far as to say, like, I don't know about you guys, but I remember back in the day, my friends and I used to rationalize that dragons could breathe their elements, especially fire, red dragons, but 99% of dragons had a gland in their mouth, and they would scrape their teeth by igniting the gases in their glands to cause the fire in the first place. Ooh, Dead Man's like, overloaded Christmas trees. Yeah, what is it? The extension cords, the quadruple extension cords plugged into the single extension cord, not fully plugged in, and then having like, you know, 80 lights hanging off of it and stuff like that. Yeah, but I remember that with dragons, that was a thing, and we often said, well, I wonder if you could harness the gases or the fluid in the glands of a dragon's mouth, or wherever the glands would be, down in their throat or in their back or something. And then, so we even went so far as to be like, I wonder if you could shoot the gland with an arrow and make the side of their head explode with like a big, like, flaming torch or something, as the gases escape or the fluids escape and catch on fire or whatever. But yeah. Yeah, when your holiday cheer turns into holiday arson. Hashtag God bless America. America. Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Yeah, yeah. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And so the fact that we inadvertently cause these things, um, the aftermath of those events, I think we should just really embrace. And now, mind you, we don't have to destroy our entire setting when it comes to things like that. Car accidents, wagon turnovers, things falling off of scaffoldings, um, sailing ships being unloaded with their wares with cranes, and heavy items being moved and dumped over warehouses with crates stacked, you know, 5 men high, or just get tumbled over or fall from catwalks, whatever. All of these things should happen. Statues that fall over in town squares, or PCs climb up and try to push statues over with their feet to block entrances and things. All these things are the consequences of destruction. Even going so far as to say that when a player character in your world and setting, if they have power, um, access to like psionic power or magic or something like that, that they leave behind like a residue, or their power is such that um, they create lots of noise. We often forget about, we love the visuals of our world, but we don't often look at the sounds, the smell, even the vibrations in the ground, right? There, it's possible that there are many predators that might smell a certain thing, whether it's like ozone or almonds, or whatever the carbon is from things that burn. And maybe your PC, that's the pyromancer, maybe they smell like something that's been lit on fire. And when they cast their fireball and blast someone, maybe for like the next half hour, that's what they smell like. And it's in their clothing and such, you know. Yeah, soot. Thank you very much for that, dead man. Yeah, they can leave behind soot. Maybe they leave footprints that smell of soot. Maybe they don't even realize it. I For people who are heavy smokers, sometimes people who don't smoke at all enter into a heavy smoker's house, and they can just smell the tobacco like on the walls and ceiling, and the person smoking like, I don't know what you mean. Um, Ask anyone that smokes and has a cast on their hand or their arm, and their cast will absolutely smell like um, tobacco. You know, Scott Post says they blew up one of the heads of the two-headed dragon in Willow that way. Arrow in its neck. The next time it tried to breathe fire, it exploded its head, so that there is scientific precedent. I did. I don't. Why don't I remember that from Willow? I gotta see that movie again. But yes, what a great way to reward narratively a critical success, but like not very much damage, you know. And you're, as the dungeon master, you're like, damn, they got a crit, that's so sweet, but they only roll 3 points of damage, that sucks. And so instead of everybody's sitting around going wah wah wah, you know, you can go, how can I turn this, I mean, this is really epic. So all right, and then you start describing it like the arrow goes through his throat, and the gases start escaping, like it's held under pressure or something like that, and the dragon leans towards you and gets ready to breathe fire or something like that, and all of a sudden its head just like, poof, and all of a sudden you see fire blasting out the side of its neck and whatnot. Yeah, I would do that. I mean, why not? Why? Have fun with it. It's not like you're going to break the game. And especially at your table. We don't have RPG police. You can absolutely let the narrative itself become a gaming effect, and because we let it happen vice versa, right? Game effect, we wrap it around a narrative. The other way around, we can take our narrative, add in it a gamifiable element to it, and keep on going. Mr. Spinzar says, I like to use sepultura to describe necromancers, as it just means relating to tombs. Well, that's necromancers. Are they good or evil? That's its own hell. We could go a week on something like that. Not that we will, but yeah. Yeah, you're good necromancer. The consequences of you raising like my dead grandmother and walking around with her like it's like your pet. Yeah, you're gonna get a punch in the face, dude. I have necromancer thoughts. Necromancer, I see live people. Yeah, I always, Mr. Spencer says, continues to say, I always ruled that dragons are sort of magical anchors of the prime planes. Fire dragons have a tiny portal to the plane of fire, which they harness for their seemingly endless wells of magical power. Again, yes. Here's the answer, and the answer is yes. Why not? When the player character, druids, clerics, doesn't really matter what they are. If this is a medieval setting, who's to say that they aren't opening tiny little portals to other worlds? And over time, the weave or the ley lines or whatever it is that you have, whatever pseudo scientific method you have for explaining why there's magic power in your world, sepulchra, sure, I'll go with that. I'm probably putting improper emphasis on the incorrect syllable. Um, yeah, sep. There we go. Here, okay, guys. Sepulchra. I don't know what more you want from me. I'm going to eat it, chew it around, and spit it out. You know that. You're just asking for it from me. Although I can hear you guys going like, type, damn it, here he goes again. Fucking DBJ. Get yourself a stainless steel keyboard. That's my that's my suggestion to you guys. Oh man, or listen to this at like 1.5 speed so you can get past all the mispronunciations. Yeah, it types furiously. Fucking. But anyway, the idea. Oh man, what a squirrel on that one. I hope it's padded, that way you can throw it across the room. Like, there he goes again. Oh man, maybe I should have little like sell padded keyboards. Players could for the RPG community. Oh no. Scott Poe's like, I my cracked phone. Luxury, I type on my cracked phone. Don't cut your fingers. The idea that players themselves, as I loop back in, players themselves will change the environment, I think is an excellent way, for good or bad. Listen, this is for good or bad. This isn't punishment. This is embedding the PCs into the world. To me, is just a great thing. Now, you know I always have to bring up movies, television, graphic novels, books, all video games, all those intellectual properties. And one of the greatest things we've ever seen in some of our favorite action movies, and when I say action, they don't necessarily have to be gun and run, but a lot of the environmental action movies, is that there's always some idiot somewhere in one of these movies that's warned, please don't touch the red button. Please don't move the rock. Please don't make noise. Please, there's always that one person that's like, lick, lick, lick. I'm going to lick, touch it. Yeah. Here, let me touch that. Let me, there's always somebody fiddling with the thing they shouldn't, and then they cause problems. Case in point, there's always someone on a submarine that has to like lock a portal, launch a torpedo, slide down some steps, get someone to fill up to open up a hatch and have it flood with water. There's always somebody there. Yeah, almost like, although irony is a lot funnier, yeah, there's always that. And by having the PCs literally have to deal with their own consequences, the wizard that burns down the sailing craft that they're on, and the monk looks back at the wizard like, seriously, dude, I just told you not to. And he's like, I can't help it. I just like setting fires. And then the ship starts burning down. Now you have yourself a ton of other complications, right? You have burning, you have the burning mass, and they start tumbling down onto the ship. You have people getting trapped inside of rooms down in the hold below. Eventually the ship will start to list over as it starts capsizing and taking on water. You have people jumping overboard and trying to swim for it, some of them in plate mail. I see your paladin PCs, right? You start dealing with all of these other things. Let's take a Winter Wonderland. Somebody somewhere is going to set off an avalanche in a steep, snow-covered, blizzard-hit, frozen landscape. Period. Someone's going to make noise. I want to use my Thunderwave spell, and everyone else does the face palm like, you seriously? I want to use Thunderwave. Here comes the avalanche, right? So someone's going to crack the ice of a frozen lake. Someone is going to set fire to the woods. Someone is going to fall through or collapse an abandoned building, or what have you. It's just going to happen. And my thing is, yeah, let it happen. Let them deal with the consequences. Something dangerously filled with water or any other kind of dangerous fluids, be it acid or flammable liquids or adhesives or gelatinous gel that's may or may not be sentient. Someone is going to dump it over, pull the plug, cause the dam to explode, and then cause the water to flood someplace. Let players go into the sewer system and watch hilarity ensue, right? It almost says, like in the Desgaia game, the hero's brother who turned into a minotaur warned everyone to be careful or they'll fall off of a cliff. And he was the one who actually fell off. Well, yeah, there's a lot of that too, right? There is a lot of that. For example, climbing cliffs is a pretty common thing. Doesn't matter really what game system it is, right? Climbing a cliffside. Now, of course, what's at the bottom of the cliff can change. It could be water, rocks, lava, pools of acid, teeth churning away at something, okay? And then they're climbing a cliff, they're climbing a wall, they're climbing a building, whatever. And then they have to get to a flat surface at the top, a catwalk, the roof of a building, the castle wall, or whatever. Now, on their way up is where the hilarity ensues. Does the PC, as you start explaining that the PCs are grabbing onto a rope or a cable or something, and the PC's like, I'm going to use a spell, I'm going to attack with my weapons, I'm going to kick the person in the face or something, and you're like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and I'm with you because I'm on your side, but how are you holding on? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, okay, you want to have your shield ready in one hand, your longsword in the other, plus you want to have a spell and component and hold up your arcane focus and use somatic component. Like, something's got to give here. And they're like, ooh, I hadn't thought about that. Okay, I'll hold the rope between my butt cheeks, and then I'm also going to grab it with my teeth, and then watch the players start scrambling. Like, oh, I hadn't thought about it, but I'm going to come up with some ridiculous reason for me to hold on or something like that, right? I mean, that's another PCism, right? Coming up with ridiculous rationalities for them surviving something that's a potential problem of their own making. Again, embrace it. But yes, cutting ropes on people climbing up walls is a thing. Dropping heavy items on their heads as they climb up those said walls is a thing. PCs who want to uh, break or knock down those stalactites over top of the heads of the people below them or creatures below them in the caves should be a thing. And remember, leave that crap in the world. When they kill the dragon's body is still there. Maybe the dragon's body acts as cover. Kill a red dragon, probably cover plus resistance from fire, hiding behind a red dragon's wing. I would give that. Um, Kill the giant's body is still there. You know what I mean? Scott, I mean, Mr. Spenzar is like, I tie the rope around my neck and control the speed of descent by clenching my neck to my torso. Uh, uh, Doink! I've got 87 hit points. It won't kill me. And everyone's just like shaking their heads, like, seriously? You're literally tying a noose around your neck. I wanted my hands and feet free. Oh, Scott Post is knocking over a vat of aboleth slime in a mad alchemist lab could be fun. Whoever it coats becomes a water-breathing creature and starts to suffocate. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, where's water? The moat was full of water and a monster? Decisions. Hmm. Yeah, a dragon corpse, or it blocks the door. Dragon corpse. It blocks the door. Damn. Yeah, like everyone's screaming at the barbarian, like, no! He's like, I'm gonna take it down myself. Bang, bang, bang. I killed it in one round. Look at me. Sitting back, arms folded, like, yeah, I'm the man. And everyone turns back and is like, dude, you just killed a 50-ton creature. Now it's blocking the blocking the door. You just locked doored us. I saw DBJ's video. He said, don't have any locked doors, and you just locked one on us. And he's like, oops, sorry. I'll help you guys cut a hole through its chest so we can climb through it, maybe? We're gonna have to climb in its mouth and come out of its anus to keep going through the adventure. Yay, I killed the purple worm, and ooh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I got a tunnel through the dragon. But listen, yes, ridiculous, silly, but okay, you know, or I think this would even be this actually makes a lot of sense. PCs kill dragon, dragon blocks door, PCs cut up dragon, they wiggle their way through the dragon pieces, body or whatever. How to make sausage? Yep. Harry, little late there with the second delight there, dude. Yeah. Thanks for the thumbs. Just make sure you wash your thumbs afterwards. So, but what happens to the dead bodies that the PCs leave behind in the dungeon? Now I know we're quite a bit more advanced. We're more sophisticated today, and we don't exactly have classic dungeons, but just dead bodies themselves are a huge third pillar complication. Oh, is my camera not? Am I frozen again? Oh, it's working. I realize now stage 10 allows the smaller my face is, the better the stream. So I don't know what that means for for you guys, but yeah. So the idea of dead corpses and the things that happen to dead corpses, much like Scott Poe talks about like a vat of aboleth slime. Who's to say that the side effects of what these creatures have, aboleth slime, I brought up dragon glands, the special powers of these really strange and bizarre creatures, of course, brown mold, um, brown, gray, green, black, yellow, gelatinous. Come on, there's some other ones in there. There's, well, there, beyond the basic monster manual, there's also these other slime-like creatures. Who's to say that? Okay, how do I say this? That they're not just, they don't exist in a singular fashion. So a purple worm's gullet may have inside of it a gray ooze or a green slime or a purple or was it black pudding or something that may have come about simply by the deaths, the simple lifespan of those purple worms digging in and around the Underdark, right? The dwarves kill them, those Snurfneblin. Yes, I'm mispronouncing it. The deep gnomes, maybe they eat themselves some purple worm, and or just through natural causes, a purple worm gets trapped in a cave-in or something, and lo and behold, scavengers come and want to, as the body starts decomposing, just in real life, things decompose, and you get yourself some bacteria and maybe some fungus or a mold grows on it, and then there's like tiny little insects will come and lay eggs, and then there's some scavengers that will start eating pieces off of it. And so maybe, just maybe, when the PCs kill that dragon turtle, they have created their own hazard on their way back out the dungeon, right? They've created their own, they've drawn to themselves their own scavengers. Like I bring up the idea of the undead having a flock of ravens or vultures circling overhead because they're just waiting for those undead to just fall over and die because they're going to start scavenging off the dead bodies. And why not? Dead bodies are a thing. And if those same dragons or wyverns or drakes or serpents or whatever in your world have a tie to, say, an elemental plane or power, killing it might not be the best thing, as we do maybe a little BFF creature stacking, and that red dragon, if left to its own devices, might literally have its mouth open, gas is pouring out of its mouth, and suddenly a little tiny little flame method or steam method or something comes out of it, and maybe it will then eventually grow into a wild fire elemental through time or energy or power or what have you. Yeah, definites with that there is the chances of the PCs. Yeah. Huh? Who you guys? Harry? I'm not following you. Scott Poe says the party was actually formed when the bard chef told them he could prepare a steak from any beast, assuming the cuts were made when the animal was freshly dead. And so they embarked on a grand quest to sample all the monsters of the land, killing them fresh per the bard's combat direction. Bard's like, no, 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 no. You're gonna cut through the freshest meat. That's where the T-bone Gorgon. Oh man. Oh, Scott. Yeah, Mr. Spenzar. The monster menual is a real thing. Worth a read. A lot of things taste just like chicken. Yep, Axebeak tastes just like chicken. Is that Griffin? It tastes like chicken. What is that? Griffin and waffles. What a late night special there. Oh man. You know that Frank's Red Hot? You just put that on there. You could put that shit on anything. Omen's like, I think it's because we cook them all the same way. Well, Maybe you have to cook them over a fire elemental to get that moist crispness, crisp on the outside, moist on the inside. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think you could get yourself like a nice green radiation fire going as you start turning the 50-ton creature over top of of the flames. Um, Harry's like, were they moved to Georgia with the rest of the zombies? Um, yeah, I could see that. I mean, although every once in a while they'll point that out. I think in a zombie apocalypse you'd have yourself a lot of carrion creatures. I mean, they would watch out for being grabbed. They don't want to be eaten by the zombies themselves, but I could see a lot of it depends on your idea of decomp for zombies. You know, do zombies decomp at the same rate or do they last longer? Because if decomp happens at the same rate, zombies are going to very quickly turn into skeletons, right? But during their decomp phase, as they walk around and their insides liquefy and the skin falls off and they get covered with fungus and mold and that kind of thing, they're going to be carrying around a lot of flies and um, surrounded by clouds of flies with like vultures circling overhead to eat their dead flesh. Um, Absolutely packed with maggots. Maybe some hives would grow inside of them as well. Maybe some plant life would grow in them. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of that stuff. Dead Man's like, overcook them enough and they'll all become the same charred lumps. I do you know something I don't know, Dead Man? Because it sounds like you've done this before. Dead Man's over there like taking a Gorgon steaks, like, oh yeah, if you don't cook it just right, it just turns to stone. Gotta cut it just right. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Scott posts like, make the dinner prep a ritual they all participate in, like a skill challenge. Ooh, okay. If they do well, the meal imparts a bonus the next day. On a total failure, they get food poisoning. Ooh, Gorgon steak. It's Petra fried food. Oh shit. Oh man. Yeah, I like the idea of skill challenge. I'll take a leg. Yeah, yeah. You don't want to eat anything by the head as it belches. Someone's trying to cook it, and you're like, oh, everybody step back, and it belches out some more gases. Watch out. Oh man. You, let's see. Sleight of hand works. Let's see. Fifth edition. Sleight of hand. You definitely have some arcana, maybe history. No, medicine. Sleight of hand, medicine. I would deign to say investigation as a method of disseminate, like understanding the body functions to figure out what organs go where if they have regular normal organs. Oh, we call that pata in my country, leg meat. I mean, or pata? Pata or pata? I'm going to assume it's one of those. I don't think I can mispronounce that any worse. There, Obed. The first is correct. Oh, uh, pata. That's cool. It's we're being silly, but at the same time, like Scott is like, yeah, making a skill challenge. Why not? I mean, listen, if you tell your players that they can get a bonus of some sort by like cultivating the whatever essence it is of the creature they killed, whether it's their organs, blood, the meat, the eyes, the brains, or whatever, um, what a great way to give them magic items. Or shit, steal this from Monty Cook's games. Monty Cook's game ciphers. Ciphers are like one use, one shot items that give you a benefit or a bonus or something in the game. So hand out a half ton of one-use items, and in order for them to get those items, they have to cultivate those items, whether it's medicinal, and you could even add limitations to it, right? You kill a gorgon, someone takes the gland out of the gorgon, you have a one-use anti-petrification liquid or something, and then you stack on top of that a preparatory method. So you can't just kill the gorgon and cut the organ out. Maybe you have to steam it or bake it, or you have to dry it and then use a mortar and pestle to turn it into a powder. Maybe you have to let it sun dry for 3 days. Maybe there are some other elements you have to add to it, like start stacking them. By the way, me talking, circling back to finishing the writing for, or 95% finished writing for the Wetlands book, we incorporated that into the thing where you can randomly create your own, like, hey, if you want to find this, you want to find something in the wild, here's where you can find it in the wild, here's how hard it is to find it, here's what you need to find, whether it's from an animal or plant or mineral or something like that, here's how you prepare it, here's how long it's going to take you, here are some of the side effects and stuff. Oh, dude, it's not... Thank you very much for the super chat there, man. Harry, not necessary at all. And dude, right at the end, we're already past our hour mark, man. So listen, I so much appreciate it. Thank you very much for that, dude. It's not necessary. I just do what I do because I like it. So I really appreciate the tip, man. It means a lot. It's I don't know. I just like you guys hanging around. So since you did that, you've actually ended the show really well. So guys, thank you very much for spending your very valuable time with me. I hope you're able to leave this show and leave here with just a little bit of change. Thank you all. Have a great one.